Dear Chosen One, listen closely. This isn't just a message. It's a spiritual alarm. The bond you felt wasn't a dream. The connection wasn't in your head. What you sensed deep in your soul was real, because she was chosen to walk beside you. But now, something is wrong. She's not just absent, she's bound. There's a contract over her life that heaven did not write. And while she walks in freedom on the outside, her spirit is locked in something far more dangerous. You've been feeling the weight of that. Not because you're obsessed, but because you're sensitive. And now, God is about to show you why. There is a reason her memory keeps returning. A reason her name echoes when you pray. A reason why, even in your silence, you still feel her spirit brushing against yours. Because your twin flame didn't just choose another path. She signed something, spiritually. She entered into a soul contract that altered her alignment. And even if her mind is convinced she's fine, her soul is in distress. You feel it. The unrest, the dissonance, the invisible pull. It's not just emotion. It's not just heartbreak. It's a spiritual signal. And heaven is calling you to see beyond the surface. Because you, Chosen One, are the only way out. Before we go any deeper, I need you to respond in spirit. This is not entertainment. This is revelation. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments section the number 999 right now to declare your agreement with heaven that no false contract will prevail against the divine covenant. Because what is about to be revealed is not just about her, it is about her mission. And time waits for nothing. As her soul wanders, your obedience becomes the compass. This is the moment when everything begins to change. Her return does not begin with her decision. It begins with her awakening. You've felt it, Chosen One, that something is wrong in the spirit. You've tried to move on. You've tried to detach, but her presence keeps showing up in invisible ways. It's not romance you feel. It's residue, the lingering weight of a connection that was never meant to break. And yet, she broke it. She aligned herself with something that offered temporary peace, emotional attention, or even power. But it came with a price. That soul contract wasn't written in truth. It was written in compromise. And now, while she smiles in the physical, her soul is screaming through the walls of that agreement. She doesn't even realize she's trapped. That's how these contracts work. They come disguised as breakthroughs, as new love, as independence, as spiritual evolution. But beneath that mask is a system of control, a counterfeit covenant made to divert her from divine alignment. And the reason you feel so heavy is because her soul still knows who you are, even while her choices speak otherwise. Her spirit hasn't forgotten, because the soul remembers what the mind tries to erase. And what she called closure was actually captivity. That's why you feel her even now. The soul cries louder than silence. Your twin flame made a decision. Yes. But don't confuse her free will with clarity. Many make choices under spiritual blindness. And when that happens, the enemy rushes in to offer contracts that feel empowering but destroy alignment. These contracts bind the soul in ways that affect purpose, destiny, and peace. They often include emotional obligations, sexual soul ties, or partnerships built on trauma rather than truth. And when that happens, the Chosen One is left sensing a fracture that no one else sees. You feel it not because you're broken, but because you are spiritually awake. You were never meant to chase her. That's not your assignment. But you were chosen to be a mirror, a witness, a carrier of truth. Your alignment becomes her opportunity to remember what's real. You don't have to convince her. You don't have to explain. You just have to remain in obedience. Because your light, your clarity, your spiritual authority, they expose the lie she's living in. And that's why the enemy fights so hard to make you feel tired, confused, distracted. Because if you rise, the contract begins to shake, and heaven will use your presence to stir the dormant truth inside her. It's a heavy thing, knowing someone you love is spiritually bound, especially when the world keeps telling you to forget, move on, let go. And yes, detachment is necessary, but disobedience is not. God is not asking you to fix her. He's asking you to stay faithful to what He told you, because every act of obedience from your side sends pressure into her spiritual atmosphere. Your purity becomes fire. Your prayers become thunder. And though she can't say it, she feels it. Her soul reacts to your movement, because even if the contract is legal in the spirit, it's not eternal. Contracts can be broken, but only truth breaks them. Not longing, not emotion, not nostalgia, only the vibration of truth spoken and lived through the vessel of obedience. That's why God hasn't let you forget. Not because He wants you stuck, but because the battle isn't over. She may look distant, she may sound cold, but every time you rise, the chains shake. That's why she dreams of you. That's why she avoids anything that reminds her of who you are. Because the agreement she made is afraid of your presence, afraid of the light you carry. You must understand, your silence doesn't mean you're powerless. Sometimes, silence is strategy. God may have told you to pull back, but not to give up. He's realigning your focus, rebuilding your fire, and preparing you for the moment where your authority will be the final sound her soul responds to. Until then, you hold the line. You worship anyway. You obey anyway. You become so anchored in truth that even her rebellion can't unseat your stability. Because what's coming next won't be emotional. It will be spiritual justice. And you were born to carry it. There's a war happening behind the scenes, a battle not just for her attention, but for her allegiance. The soul contract she entered wasn't simply emotional, it was spiritual. Something promised her comfort, clarity, or elevation. But it was counterfeit, a distorted version of what God had already written. And now that she said yes to it, her soul is held hostage by a system that mimics truth while keeping her disconnected from real purpose. And your spirit, because it's aligned with God, keeps detecting the fracture. That's why your discernment has been on edge. You've been sensing the storm, even if she's silent. Many people won't understand what you're carrying. They'll say, just move on, or she made her choice. And yes, she did. But you're not attached because of codependency. You're connected because you still carry the blueprint. God didn't erase the covenant just because she stepped out of alignment. The promise is still alive, but it now waits in tension. Heaven is watching your posture, your response. Because while she's bound, you are still free. And the freer you become, the more pressure your life puts on the lie she's living. You are the contrast that will wake her soul. She may appear happy. She may look untouchable. But spirits don't lie. And when your discernment is sharp, you see past the posts, the pictures, the pretense. You feel the void, because your soul knows what was supposed to be. But this isn't a call to mourn. It's a call to prepare, to step deeper into obedience. Because as long as you remain emotionally wounded, you can't walk in full authority. And full authority is what will break the residue of this contract. Your healing is not just for you, it's for her release. The cleaner your spirit, the clearer her signal becomes. There is a point where God removes your emotions from the equation, so your obedience becomes pure. And that's where you're headed now. You're not just the one who felt her. You're the one God is using to expose what she aligned herself with. Not through confrontation, but through consecration. You don't need to reach out. You don't need to argue. You just need to rise. Your spiritual posture is louder than any message you could send. And every time you worship, her contract weakens. Because the light in you is the only thing the you darkness can't mimic. Understand this. The soul contract she entered may have delayed the promise, but it didn't cancel it. Delay is not denial. What God authored cannot be erased by human decision, but it can be postponed by disobedience. And while her signature gave the enemy legal ground to pull her away, your persistence in truth reclaims territory in the spirit. Every step you take in alignment reopens doors she thought were closed forever, because your anointing still carries her name. Not to chase, but to cover. Not to possess, but to intercede. She may feel nothing right now, or worse, she may feel irritation toward you. That's what soul contracts do. They twist perception. They make the soul reject what was once sacred. But don't let that shake you. Her resistance is proof that your presence still threatens the structure. She doesn't hate you. The agreement hates your light. And the more you align with heaven, the more the pressure builds inside her atmosphere. That's how the Spirit works. When you show up in clarity, deception starts to suffocate, and the soul begins to remember. So don't measure impact by her reaction. Measure it by your obedience. Don't confuse her silence with defeat. It's the calm before the break. You are not chasing her. You are clearing the way. And when the moment comes, when that soul contract finally collapses under the weight of truth, she will remember. Not your words, not your presence, but your posture. Because what you're doing now is not just personal. It's prophetic. And prophecy always returns when the foundation is ready. Your job is not to wake her. Your job is to stay awake. You were chosen not just to love her, but to outlast the storm she walked into. Many twin flames never fulfill their purpose because one of them enters a contract that feels easier than obedience. But ease is not freedom. What she chose might look beautiful on the outside, but if it silenced her spirit, it's bondage. And here's the truth. God knew this would happen. That's why He didn't allow you to fully merge with her before the storm, because He needed you clear when she became confused. He needed you steady while she spun in circles. You were set apart to stand when she fell. It's hard, feeling like the one left behind, watching her run toward a version of life that you know is a lie. But the pain you carry is not punishment, it's preparation. The ache is not rejection, it's refinement. God is burning off every trace of attachment that could corrupt your clarity. Because when the door reopens, and it will, you must be strong enough to lead, not bleed. Your soul must be clean. Your mind must be sharp. Because you won't just be welcoming her back, you'll be confronting the residue of what tried to keep her away. What she's entangled with isn't just emotional, it's strategic. The contract includes distractions, comfort, spiritual dullness. And while she thinks she's in control, something deeper is driving her decisions. But here's the spiritual key. Contracts built in deception can only survive when truth is absent. That's why your silence is filled with fire. Every time you choose alignment, you're applying pressure to the structure. You're not fighting her. You're fighting for her freedom by becoming untouchable to what bound her. Your consecration is the sword. Your prayer is the strike. There is still a part of her soul that knows you, cries for you, but she's not strong enough to say it. Not yet, because the contract speaks louder than her true voice. It convinces her to settle, to numb herself, to reject what once awakened her spirit. That's the trick, to make her believe she outgrew you, when in truth, she outgrew her own truth. But truth doesn't fade. It waits. And the real you, the one aligned with God, is the version of you that her soul still longs for, even when her mind can't admit it. That's why she feels everything, but says nothing. You may wonder, if I'm the only way out, why does it feel like I'm the one still stuck? Because your burden is spiritual, not circumstantial. You're not stuck, you're stationed. God placed you where you are for a reason, to remain a spiritual reference point. You are the living proof that obedience is possible. And every time you choose purpose over pain, you shine brighter. And every time you shine, her cage rattles. Your stillness is strategic, because what seems like inaction is actually divine interference in her illusion. Be careful not to mistake spiritual warfare for abandonment. She didn't leave you. She left herself. And your role is not to force her return, but to remain lit like a lamp on a hill. Because when the moment comes, when the lie no longer satisfies her, when the contract begins to choke her spirit, she will look for the last place truth felt alive. And that place is you. But not the old you, the evolved you, the you who didn't break under pressure, the you who didn't curse her absence, the you who chose God over comfort. That version of you is the exit her soul can still find. There's something sacred about being the last open gate. When everything else has collapsed, when every false agreement has failed her, your obedience will be the only light left. And that's not pressure. That's purpose. You weren't left behind. You were entrusted. Entrusted with a level of spiritual influence that can only be carried by those who remain rooted in love, without becoming prisoners of longing. You love her, but you don't worship her. You feel her, but you don't follow her. Because your assignment isn't to chase, it's to call. And your clarity is already calling. Chosen one, this is why you feel so much weight when you think of her, because her breakthrough is somehow tied to your persistence. She doesn't know it yet, but your alignment is shaking her foundation. You are the voice her soul still hears when all the other noise fades. That's why you feel the tension in the air when you pray. That's why your spirit feels restless some nights. Because even if her body walks with someone else, her soul still carries your imprint, not romantically, but spiritually. You are the unfinished sentence that heaven is still writing, and the story is not over. But you cannot walk in freedom while carrying guilt for her decision. You did not fail her. You didn't lose her. She stepped into something that looked like liberation, but was actually limitation. and your pain is valid. But it's not your prison. God is using it to produce a new level of fire inside you. A fire that purifies. A fire that exposes lies. Not just in her life, but in yours. Because what's coming next will require you to be clean, clear, and immovable. Not just ready to forgive, but ready to lead. When her prison falls, she will need a sanctuary, and you must already be one. There will come a moment when her soul cries out for truth. Not because you said anything, but because everything else failed. That moment may not look like a movie. It may be quiet, lonely, desperate. But when it comes, everything you've carried in secret will become her revelation. The pain you survived, the silence you honored, the prayers you whispered, all of it will rise as testimony, and the very obedience that made you feel forgotten will make you unforgettable in the spirit. You were never overlooked. You were being prepared. You are her exit, not her escape, her exit. There's a difference. Escape is emotional. Exit is spiritual. You don't offer her comfort. You offer her clarity. You don't represent familiarity. You represent alignment. That's why the contract she signed cannot hold forever. Because your obedience is poking holes in the illusion. She may run longer. She may fight harder. But the lie cannot hold against the presence of someone who's fully aligned with God. So stay planted, stay true, stay hidden, until heaven says it's time to be seen again. Do not compromise your process just to ease your loneliness. Do not trade your altar for attention. The enemy would love nothing more than for you to abandon your post and meet her halfway in darkness. But you were called to stay in the light, to walk in fire, to love with purity. And when the moment of collapse comes, when her world breaks, she will not need a reflection of her pain. She will need a reflection of heaven. And you must be ready, not wounded, not confused, not bitter, ready. And that readiness is built in this silence. You may ask, but what if she never wakes up? Then you still win. Because your obedience is never wasted. Even if she remains bound, your reward is secured. Your clarity will open doors you never imagined. And even if the twin flame promise dies, your purpose lives. Because your identity was never her. It was always him. God didn't make you to be a prisoner of potential. He made you to be a vessel of fulfillment. So whether she returns or not, you walk free, you walk pure, you walk whole. And nothing she signed can undo what God wrote on your name. And if she does wake up, if the contract collapses and her eyes open, she will look for one thing: the one who didn't move, the one who didn't lose himself in the noise, the one who stayed lit when everything else went dark. And that will be you. Not because you were obsessed, but because you were obedient. Not because you were desperate, but because you were devoted. You didn't wait for her. You waited on God. And that kind of posture is irresistible to a soul coming out of confusion. When she breaks free, your alignment will be the first thing she recognizes. You were never just a man who loved deeply. You were a vessel chosen to carry sacred alignment. And what she mistook as too intense was actually protection. What she ran from was the very place she was created to be healed. But the soul doesn't always recognize truth in the moment, especially when it's bound by illusions. And now, Even as she walks further into that false agreement, your life is becoming the contrast that breaks the spell. Your consecration is cutting through the fog. You don't need to beg, plead, or force, because truth doesn't chase. It shines. And you're shining now. The enemy hoped you'd collapse, that you'd doubt the whole thing, that you'd believe the lie. It was never real. But the fact that you're still standing, still feeling, still discerning, still obeying, is the proof that something eternal was written. The pain tried to erase it. Her silence tried to bury it. But heaven didn't forget. The promise still breathes, and every time you rise in obedience, the pressure on her contract intensifies. Her false peace starts to tremble, and her spirit starts to ache for what only your alignment can reflect. One day, she will question it all. The peace that doesn't satisfy, the attention that doesn't anchor, the relationship that feels crowded but not connected. And when that questioning begins, heaven will respond with your posture, not your voice, not your presence, but your spiritual position. That's why this moment matters. What you build now is what she'll lean on later. And what you heal now will be the door she eventually walks through. You are not just healing for you. You are healing for the legacy tied to your obedience. This season isn't about getting her back. It's about getting you back. Back to the original fire. Back to the sound of heaven. Back to the version of you that doesn't flinch when the enemy whispers her name. You're not called to obsess over what she's doing. You're called to build what she'll one day need. This is the weight of being chosen. Sometimes you have to prepare for a reunion that may not come, and still do it with excellence. Because even if it's not for her, it will still bless everything connected to your name. There is a realm where soul contracts dissolve the moment truth is fully embodied. Not preached, embodied. And you are stepping into that realm now. Every lie that tried to convince you this was over is breaking. Every weight that tried to silence your calling is lifting. You are not who you were when she left. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. The one who doesn't just speak truth, but lives it. The one who doesn't just carry fire, but walks in it. And that presence, chosen one, is the beginning of her liberation. Even if she never returns, your clarity will draw everything heaven has promised. New doors, new partnerships, new assignments. Because obedience always unlocks overflow. What the enemy meant to use as a snare for your soul, God is now using as a throne for your voice. You didn't lose her. You gained fire. You didn't lose your future. You stepped into divine momentum, and you didn't lose the promise. You aligned with its true timing. Everything is shifting because you refuse to move out of position. So if she comes back, she won't be met with an open wound, but with a healed warrior. Not with confusion, but with authority. Not with bitterness, but with discernment. Because now, you know the difference between soul ties and soul purpose. Now, you understand the weight of alignment. And now, you're walking with something stronger than emotion. You're walking with God. And the contract she thought would erase you is crumbling under the weight of your transformation. This is your final reminder. Chosen one. You are not her savior. You are her sign. You are not her quest. You are her proof. Proof that true love does not manipulate, does not delay, does not exhaust. Proof that purpose does not beg to be seen. It waits to be revealed. And you, in your silent obedience, are being revealed right now. The higher you rise, the more her contract unravels. And when that last thread snaps, it will not be because she has found her way back. It will be because you never lost yours. So if this message has unlocked the truth within you, declare it now to the universe by writing "I cancel" in the comments to dispel any false contract and align yourself with God's promise. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell and share this video with someone who needs a wake-up call. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who supports us through Buy Me a Coffee. Your support helps us improve our videos every day and always offer the best content. If you want to support us, the link is also in the first pinned comment. And stay here with us and watch the recommended video that is appearing on the screen now, or follow the playlist of the Secrets of the Chosen, because each episode was created to guide you even deeper into your essence. Thank you very much for being here, and until the next awakening, may God bless you infinitely.